You must help me. We have to use this energy from ordinary misconnection to the wisdom honestly.
It's you, my daughter. It seems much time has passed. You have brought me back to life, but we are not finished yet. We are all trapped in the cubes we have created. We have to find a way out. Look into my pocket. Give me a mask.
future and the past, and the future. It is the way back to the place where we belong. It makes the life we and the future.
Give me the cube. Give me the cube. The past in the future. The future in the past. A cube. Inside a cube. There is a way out. To the lake where we both belong, my daughter. If the 3 gems are found, and the golden cube is revealed in the past, look closely into the cube I hold. Both of you, press and hold the middle of the cube for 10 seconds at the same time.